It seems like every day I talk with a new M&A firm that is telling me about how they hired an agency to do some email outreach for them and to book some appointments, and they only got tire kickers, or they got no appointments at all, or they got some appointments, but the company wasn't sophisticated enough yet to be able to pay their retainer or to see the value in a real proper M&A advisor, a real proper M&A process. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about why the typical outreach process tends to produce appointments that are just an absolute terrible fit and never go anywhere. Okay. So first, who am I? My name is Alan Woods. I'm the founder of Woods Ascension. We've been doing lead generation for 8 years now, since December 2018. We have delivered over $32 million in verifiable revenue for our clients, a mix of commercial lenders. We're newer to the M&A space, home services clients in the past, but now we specialize specifically in the financial services sector, serving only M&A firms and commercial lenders. Okay, so let's dive in. What I see every day is that M&A firms are constantly having appointments with companies, with owners who are either just curious or not in the right size band, or again, simply not sophisticated enough, not quite at a level yet where they see the value in hiring a serious M&A firm to assist them in this process. And so there's two key things that I want to talk about in this video. Number one is that company fit does not at all equal seller intent. And the number two is that oftentimes there's just misaligned incentives when it comes to cold email outreach, but we'll get to that in a second. So first, company fit does not at all equal seller intent. So company fit, what this can look like is, okay, are they in the right industry? Do they have enough revenue? What is their EBITDA range? Where are they in our specific geography? Am I talking to the owner? And all these things, like they seem important to anybody on the outside who has no idea what's actually important. Because yes, these things are important, certainly. But if you get on a call with somebody who only has these things in place and they're missing everything else that I'm going to talk about in a second, then that call was essentially absolutely worthless. Okay, so seller intent, company fit, these are the absolute baseline. Seller intent, this is what makes an appointment actually valuable to you. This is what makes them have any chance of actually converting and becoming a mandate and them actually selling on the market. Okay, so number one, they need to have a reason. If an agency is doing outreach on your behalf and they're getting all these calls booked, but the people who you're booking calls with don't have any reason to move forward, then you're going to endlessly feel frustrated because you're getting calls booked and you're pretty good at closing engagements when you have good prospects, but these calls don't seem to be going anywhere. Why is that? It's because the people don't have a reason. Number two is timing. How soon is the person looking to exit? Do they even have a timeline in place? Number three, how open are they? And this is oftentimes an issue. The seller having low openness is oftentimes a proxy issue of your team not having the proper systems in place to warm them up before the appointment, or your outreach vendor not having the right systems in place to warm them up before the appointment. What do I mean by that? Well, by the time they are on an appointment with you, they should have already seen who you are, what transactions you've done in industries that are very similar to theirs, why you are to be trusted, what makes you guys stand out from other M&A firms. That they need to understand all of this. And oftentimes when we audit different M&A firms' processes and we look at where things seem to be falling apart, oftentimes this is the issue. It's that they do cold email outreach, and from the cold email, as soon as someone says, yes, I'm interested, they just book a call. That's not how it needs to look. You have to have some warming up process after they respond positively to actually make them trust you, like you, and want to work with you. Because if they come to that call knowing absolutely nothing about your company, of course they're not going to be open. This company is their baby. They have put decades into this. You think they're just going to blab all of their deepest details and their finances to you on call one without even knowing who you are? It's not going to happen. So this is a common issue, but it's simply an outcropping of not having the proper systems in place to warm them up before the call. Okay. Desire, not curiosity. If they are simply curious about, oh, what's my valuation? Or, yeah, I want to hear more. That's not desire. That's not real intent. Okay. And they have to see your firm as the one, which goes back to what I said earlier about having systems in place before the call to show them what makes your firm different, what makes you different, what experience you have in this industry, what transactions you've assisted with, all of that. Okay. So that's issue number one, is that company fit does not equal seller fit. And if you're qualifying for company fit and not for seller fit, then you're going to have endless, pointless appointments. Pointless appointments. Okay, moving on. Number two, if you are doing this in-house and you have a junior on your team who is doing the outreach, or you're doing it yourself, there are about 1 trillion things that could go wrong. Number one, well, this person who's doing the outreach, they may have too many tasks to properly devote the time to outreach, and thus they respond too slow. If they get too busy, the outreach starts to slack. There's just so many things that can go wrong. But number two is that because this is in-house and you are in a boutique sell-side M&A advisory, you are not a cold outreach specialist. So of course you don't understand all of the deep technical requirements of how to make cold emails effective at scale, or how to make cold calls effective at scale. Of course you don't understand these things. Most people don't. So what do you need to understand? Well, you need to understand that you need to have multiple domains. If you don't know this from a single domain, let's say you're sending 100 emails a day, for example. That's 3,000 a month, 2,300 if we're doing it only on weekdays. So when you get beyond 10 to 15 emails a day from a single inbox, Google and Microsoft, they start to take notice of that. And if you stay above that level long term, they will mark you as spam. So what needs to be done is that if you are doing any type of high volume email outreach, you need to have multiple domains, multiple inboxes, okay? And these need to be separate from your main company website. If your company is ChesapeakePartners.com, then you can't be sending cold emails from Alan@ChesapeakePartners.com, because if your inbox ever gets marked as spam, then all of your company's emails, including the ones that are actually normal emails to your team or actually normal emails to your clients, those all go to spam. So you need to have multiple inboxes, multiple domains. Number two, if you don't get replies, you land in spam. What do I mean? Well, the core thing that Google and Microsoft and all the email service providers are what they're trying to see is that you are not a spammer. And what is the best way to know that someone is a spammer? Well, people don't respond to their emails. If people if I actually have any type of relationship with you and I know who you are and I'm sending you emails, you're probably gonna respond to some of them. So the biggest signal that Google and Microsoft take of whether or not someone is a spammer is, do people actually reply? Do their emails get replies? And so if someone on your team is just sending out a bunch of emails and the emails are generic and they're not getting many replies, then all of this falls apart because then Google sees that you're a spammer and all of your emails end up in spam, even the ones that could have been good. Okay. Number 3, you need to have clean lists. If your lists are full of leads that don't actually fit your ICP, that don't actually fit your target market, then you're going to end up in spam. Boom. Number 4, you need to have handwritten quality emails at scale. What do I mean by that? Well, again, this goes back to the matter of relevance. If we're doing outreach, we have to have emails that are deeply relevant to the audience that we're targeting. And so how I typically approach this is that I suggest for M&A firms to sit down and pick 4 or 5 companies in their ideal target market and look at their LinkedIn, their website, their YouTube, everything, their everything, and sit down and write by hand the exact email that they would write to them if they were trying to get them onto a call. And by doing that, you can then see what a good human email looks like. And at that point, it's a matter of using AI tools to capture that same level of human signal, but doing that at scale, okay? So you need to have emails that are the quality of you having written them. And these same exact principles apply if you're doing cold calls as opposed to cold emails, because now iPhones and Androids both have pre-call screening, where if you have a pattern of people not responding positively to your calls, you start getting the spam likely warning on your calls when you're sending calls out. Okay, so these same principles apply, just in a different way when you're doing cold calls as well. Okay, so the next issue is that for the in-house team is that you have to reply in under 5 minutes. The chances of a prospect qualifying drop by 21 to 23x according to Harvard Business Review if you reply in under 5 minutes. If you reply in over 5 minutes. So speed is massively important. And again, if someone has too many tasks and they're busy because you're running the M&A firm, you're not going to be replying in under 5 minutes. It's probably not going to happen consistently. And so the next thing is, I've seen that most boutique firms tend to fall into one of 2 categories. Either they're doing far too much trash volume via email outreach, or they're doing far too little volume. In one company in particular, they were sending 1.2 million emails a month, which is absolutely insane. And they were getting between 5 to 10 meetings from that, which is absolutely insane negatively. Because you should be getting an appointment. If you're doing mass email outreach, you should be getting an appointment for every 500 to 5,000 emails sent. 5,000 maximum. So you need to do some backwards deduction here and see, okay, how many appointments are we trying to aim for every month? If we're aiming for let's say 10 qualified appointments per month, then we need to do a maximum of 50,000 emails per month. Okay? The other side of this is doing too little outreach. Too much is a bad thing. Too little is a bad thing. Too much, and you greatly increase your chances of ending up in spam. Too little, and you greatly increases your chances of not enough people who actually fit your audience seeing your email, and thus you get no real results. So if you have these different factors in place, you get no results. And these are the reasons why most meetings can be trash if you're doing things in-house. Now, if outsourced, the biggest reason is that there are misaligned incentives between most agencies and their clients. What do I mean by that? Well, most agencies are getting paid off of booking appointments for you. But we just talked about earlier how an appointment with a company is not equal to them actually having seller intent. Seller intent is what we're optimizing for, not appointments. Having 2 meetings with companies that actually have true seller intent is more valuable than having 20 meetings with companies that are just curious or just looking for a valuation or just wanted to talk with a banker and get the little ego boost. That's all worthless. And so when an agency is getting paid, let's say $500 for an appointment, and there's no qualifiers in place of the company needs to actually be looking to transact within X amount of months, and they actually have to be within this revenue range. They have to be in this specific geography, and they have to have some reason to move forward. If there's no qualifiers in place, then they're just going to do everything that they can to get a bunch of these guys, random company fits, without qualifying for intent. And so the easiest way to make a partnership work out is by ensuring that both people have aligned incentives. When the incentives are aligned, there's no need to watch over each other's shoulders, look over their back. No, it's just, if I do what's best for me, it's also what's best for you. And so if you are hired in an agency, it has to be an agency that is paid based off of you actually getting results, you actually getting seller intent, not you just getting curious appointments. Okay? This is the biggest issue. When I talk with most firms that have been burned by agencies, this is the reason. Okay? Now, how to solve this? 3 things. Number 1 is handwritten quality messages at scale. And the reason for that is because this allows 2 things to happen. It allows you to keep your inboxes alive for a longer time, which increases your unit economics. But it also means that people reply positively, you get more booked calls, and there's just a resounding positive cycle that comes out of that. More booked appointments, more mandates, et cetera, et cetera. This is number 1. Handwritten messages, handwritten quality messages at scale. And when I say handwritten quality, I don't necessarily mean handwritten messages. The first 3 to 5 should be handwritten. But once you have the essence of what a proper handwritten message should look like, you want to capture those things systematically and replicate that at scale through AI tools. Okay? So that's number 1. Number 2 is that you need to qualify at the gate before the appointment. What do I mean? Well, before they get onto your calendar, you need to have a junior on your team or the agency you hire qualify the owner on the basics. So industry, size, geography, etc. Qualify that they are actually the decision maker. Qualify that they are open to a transaction. Qualify the timeline. Because again, if you don't do these things, then you're just wasting your time. You're just getting endless appointments and paying for appointments that go absolutely nowhere. Okay? This is massive. And number 3 is warm them up before the call. This is very important because again, if you are doing cold outreach, they have no idea who you are quite yet. So you need to have a Loom video that you send out to every owner before the appointment. And this is just you talking to them, explaining your experience, talking about your transactions, et cetera, et cetera. Number 2 is you need to have an explainer page that has some proof and some frequently asked questions. Number 3 is you need to have some auto emails that also have proof and frequently asked questions. Now the differences between these 2, the explainer page and the auto emails, is that the explainer page is video format, a series of 5 to 7 quick videos, 60 to 90 seconds, where it's just you talking to the camera and explaining a quick question. And this helps to build trust and build rapport before the appointment. But the auto emails are simply because CEOs and owners, they're oftentimes busy. And so they may not have the chance to watch the videos on the explainer page. So the auto emails are just a text-based transcription, essentially, of those videos. Now, that is how we have managed to solve this for our own campaigns and for our client campaigns. So hopefully this is useful in helping to explain why most meetings end up being tire kickers, why most meetings end up being bad fits, why most meetings end up being just, oh, I'm curious. It's because the entire system downstream or upstream of the appointment is just not set up properly. But anyways, hopefully this has been useful. We actually provide a free audit where we look into the sell side acquisition systems of M&A firms in the lower middle market. And we dive deep into how you're currently acquiring new mandates, and we identify the bottlenecks and what you can do to optimize your process. So if you would like us to look into your systems, you can book a call down below and we'll dive deep into it. And if it seems like we can help you, then I'll tell you that. If it doesn't seem like we're a good fit for you, then we'll still share some strategies for how you can do this on your own. But either way, you're gonna walk away with some type of value. So anyways, hopefully this was a video, I can't talk. Hopefully this video was useful for you, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers.